One. Hello and welcome to the RA Group Daily Webcast. Every weekday at 3:30 we host a daily webcast where our panel of experts discuss a wide range of topics to help you survive and thrive during the lockdown. Tomorrow, senior nutritionist Luxie will be providing sleep advice and taking your nutrition questions. Today though, Culinary Director David Simms will be demonstrating how to make a fabulous frittata using leftovers. Chef will be taking your questions throughout the broadcast, so please send them in whenever you like. Now over to David.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to my little kitchen. So today I'm just going to walk you through the process of making a frittata. Really super simple, and the great way of using up stuff that's left over in your fridges or that either needs to be cooking or adding in whatever else. So super simple. I'm just going to go through the ingredients I've got in my fridge, which I'm going to use, and then I'm going to start through the process. So today I'm going to do a butternut squash and cavolo nero, so black cabbage frittata. So in that I've got some butternut squash, which I just diced and cubed and roasted earlier. I've got some cavolo nero. I've got some goat's cheese, and I've got some pumpkin seeds, which I roasted off, and then some Burford brown eggs, which are a great egg, which you'll use. Obviously, use any eggs, which is fine. So I'm just going to start through the process now. The first thing I'm going to do is make some pickled onion. So I want some acidity and some flavour to go through the kale. So I'm just going to grab a mandolin and be careful not to slice my fingers off. So I've got some red onion. I'm just going to slice this very thinly, and I'm just going to dress it in some lemon juice. Whilst I do everything else. A bit more. So I'm just going to pick that up, open it out into a bowl. Grab a lemon and just squeeze some juice over the top of it. So it's going to take away some of the harshness of the onion, but also bring some nice acidity through to the frittata, because obviously squash, goat's cheese is quite rich. So I want it to be nice and balanced. So just going to massage that in. As you can see, it's gone quite vibrant and colourful. It's just the acid in the lemon juice bringing that to life. A little touch more. There we go. Okay, then I'm just going to leave that to one side to marinate and do its work. Next thing I'm going to do is just get the kale, cavolo nero. So as you can see, they've got a dark vein through the middle there, which is quite tough. I'm just going to remove the vein because it's really, as I say, quite tough and quite bitter. So very simply, just remove that from the centre. Like that. And then whilst I prep the kale, I'm just going to turn my pan on to get really hot because I want to char the kale. So just turn it on to the highest setting possible, and I'm just going to take the kale, roll it up, and just roughly chop it. Nothing too precise. And then when I put it into a dry pan, it's going to char the kale, so it's going to give us a nice bitter flavour, bring us a nice level of umami flavour. So it's just going to bring a different depth of flavour to the frittata. Obviously, you can just sweat it off normally in butter if you wish. I just do this because I enjoy the flavour profile it brings through.
David, you mentioned just now about having some acidity with the onions. Is there something that you looked for specifically around balancing a dish?
Yeah, I think it's really important with anything, no matter what you're eating. It's balanced in 5 kind of things really, which is varying levels of salt, sour, sweet, bitter, and crunch. And as long as you've got those levels and different variations, everything you eat will be really tasty, and it'll give you different depths of profile, and you won't get palate fatigue, which is kind of really boring when you get, you know, just a bland soup or anything. Your palate gets used to the flavour profile quite quickly, and then you don't enjoy it so much. But if you get those varying levels, you'll enjoy food much better. So I've got my chopped Nero, pan's heating up quite nicely. So I'm just going to put some of that into the pan and just let it kind of sit there and start cooking out. It's a completely dry pan, just to start welting it, get some char flavour through it, just nice and simple.
That looks like quite a lot. You basically filling up the frying pan.
Yeah, I mean that's a 22 centimetre frying pan, so it's going to be a frittata for 4. But obviously it's quite volume. It's quite a lot of volume. So it's going to cook down quite a lot. So it's going to, you know, dissipate quite a lot. So it's just steam starting to come up, and it's just starting to hear a little sizzle there. I don't know if you guys can pick it up on the microphone, but so I'm just going to leave that to do its work for a second. Whilst that's doing that, I'm going to start cracking the eggs. So I've got some Burford Browns here, really good depth of yolk. Again, any egg is fine, but I just like it because it's got a nice deep yellow yolk, as you can see there, much more rich flavour, which is, you know, obviously what we want. I'm doing 2.5 eggs per person.
Would you recommend organic eggs or free range eggs?
To be fair, it doesn't really matter. Free range is good. Organic eggs, there's not a lot in it, to be fair, Gavin, apart from price. These are just a free range egg, and you can see the quality of egg there. It's pretty good yellow, deep yellow yolks.
They've got a really beautiful colour.
Yeah, I think it's just been sat at room temperature, okay, so not sat in a fridge, which is obviously helps cook the frittata. So I'm just going to break that up. Don't know if you can see on the camera, some of the kale's just started to change colour. It's gone a little bit darker. You've got the light stuff in the middle, and on the outside there it's gone darker green. Means it's just starting to cook through. And I'm starting to smell some really good charred flavour profile coming through there. You can see just lifting it through, some dark pieces there. So it's coming on really nicely. Frittata, different thought process on your eggs. Some people say lightly whisk them. I like them whisked all the way through, so you get an even texture on your frittata when it's cooking. But again, each to their own, doesn't really matter. So that's nice and evenly whisked. And I'm just going to season that with some salt. Just move to one side. So the kale is coming on really nicely now. So just some nice charred pieces sitting in there. See the colours change quite significantly. It's really nice, but not cooked all the way through. So I'm going to take that out of the pan, straight into a bowl.
Are there any other kind of leafy vegetables that you'd recommend for doing this?
Literally any vegetable you can use, as long as it's pre-cooked. Anything, you know, potatoes, tomatoes. You know, obviously if it can be raw, then leave it raw. But anything that needs cooking, like squash or potatoes or meat, obviously needs to be cooked through, because anything's got to be ready to be eaten when it goes into frittata. So just got the pan back on the stove there. Just going to do a little bit of garlic really quickly. So a little bit of heat gone back into the oil, so taking off the heat now. Just going to microplane some garlic.
Steph says you must have hands of steel.
So that's gone into there. All I want to do is just toast that garlic. Really nice flavour coming through there.
Caroline's asked, where does the dish originally come from?
Frittata?
Yeah.
No, I think Spain. I'm not 100% sure.
I thought it was Spain, but I think I'll have to Google that.
Yeah, there's different tortillas, Spanish tapas. So just really nicely toasted garlic there. We're going to squeeze more lemon juice. I'm just going to put that straight over the kale.
I've just Googled where it comes from, and apparently it's Italy.
Huh. Okay, so you can see the kale and the garlic sitting on there nicely. So lovely sweetness coming through from the toasted garlic. And all I'm going to do is get my my pickled red onions you've seen earlier. Just going to fold that through. So get this really nice acidity. Got the harshness of the raw onion, but lifted slightly by the lemon juice. That's kind of a good level there. Just going to mix that through. Touch of extra virgin olive oil, just to give it a little bit of flavour, more flavour. Just really massage that into each other. So I've got the charred kale, the sweetness of the toasted garlic, and the pickled onions. It's a really, really nice flavour profile coming on there. See, that's just nicely mixed, full of flavour. I'm just going to touch more salt. Obviously, season every element as you go, so you know you've got a perfectly seasoned dish throughout. Okay, so that's.
We've had a question. What type of oil do you recommend for this? Olive, sunflower, rapeseed?
For dressing food, extra virgin olive oil is really, really good. It's got a good depth of flavour, really more flavoursome. Something like a neutral, like veg oil or sunflower oil, it's obviously neutral, as in neutral flavour. You obviously can use that, but again, it's about layering flavours for me. So something like that is much better. Extra virgin olive oil. I wouldn't use butter at this stage either, because it will solidify as soon as it touches the vegetables. So I want something to dress it and marinate and macerate as we go. So I've got my kale, my onions and garlic sitting there. Now it's time to start the frittata. So I've got the pan back on the stove. I'm going to turn it down to a low heat. So I've got an induction stove which goes up to 10. So I'm just putting it on 2 at the moment. Just going to put a splash of olive oil in there. Move it around. So this is where we start layering the frittata. Okay, so I've got my egg mix. So I'm just going to pour kind of about 1/3 of my egg mix into the pan. Just going to move it around a little bit, just so it starts off the cooking process. Now, obviously, I'm using a non-stick pan here, okay? If you don't use a non-stick pan, it's going to be exceptionally hard to get the frittata out of at the end. Okay, so that's just starting to set. It's not fully cooked through. And then I'm just going to start layering everything up. So I'm going to put some butternut squash on. Again, as I say, just completely freestyle this. Whatever you fancy, whatever ingredients you like. This is just purely stuff I had set in my fridge. So a good amount of squash, nicely evenly distributed throughout. I'm just going to layer the onion and kale mix.
Are there certain combinations which go better together?
Anything that works normally, you know, so you do peas and mint, peas and courgette. Coming into the summer, you could do asparagus. You know, anything you'd normally put together as a flavour profile would work great in a frittata. You know, so I say you can use anything from your fridge, but I wouldn't. I mean, you can be risky and risque if you want, but you know, play it safe to a point. Then I've got some pumpkin seeds here. I just toast these in the oven very lightly until they're just popped. Again, great source of protein, also omega-3, and also give me my crunch. Okay. So they're just going over quite liberally.
David, if Sean's got some kiwis left over in his fridge, do you recommend putting those in?
I personally wouldn't, but Sean can do whatever he wishes. So I'm going to just drop in the goat's cheese, which is cubed, evenly distributed throughout the frittata. So really build up some structure here. You can say this is for 4 people, enough for 4. So that's most probably enough of that. And basically I'm pouring back onto the stove. I'm just going to pour the surplus egg mix over the top. Hey presto, there we go. So that's just coming up again. It's on a low heat. Just want to start coming through. You don't want to obviously cook the base too much. You want to get a little bit of colour. Just start getting the heat coming through to it. So the last thing I'm going to do, just got some parmesan here. Just another layer of flavour. Just open it up. Just going to microplane some of that on top. Because why not? It's there. So this looks quite nicely. So what I'm looking for now, right, is the egg just to start cooking around the outside. So I don't want to have too much colour in the base because I want to cook most of this in the oven. So I'm just going to leave that kind of coming up to temperature nicely. I've got my oven preheated at 180 degrees on a fan, in a fan oven. And then I'm going to kind of slot this in midway into the oven. As I said, at 180 degrees. It'll take about 7 to 8 minutes to cook. But as I say, I'm just waiting for the starts of the egg to come up around the side. It's going to come up in temperature a little bit to speed this up. And I think I'm just going to sprinkle a few more pumpkin seeds on the top, a bit more crunch and texture. Okay, so whilst this is cooking, what I'm going to do is make a salad to go with it. Obviously, it'd be nice to have a salad with it. So there we go, it's just starting to come up. Nice. So for that, I've got some preserved lemon, some capers for the dressing. So preserved lemon, capers, some Dijon mustard, some grey mustard, and some extra virgin olive oil. So I'll make the dressing first. I'm also going to add some chilli because I like it nice and spicy. So in the little bowl here, just going to take the rind of the preserved lemon and nicely finely dice that. To the bowl. So I've got half a lemon here.
And David, I've got a question regarding the mix. Some people add milk to the egg yolk in an omelette. Could you do that for a frittata? And what is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do?
Yes, you can do it. It's just going to lighten the egg mix up somewhat, but obviously it could weaken the structure. So omelette's a little bit easier, but a frittata you really to hold its weight and structure. So you could. I mean, I would mix something like creme fraiche or mascarpone for instead of milk, which has got more density to it. Okay, so as you can see, frittata's just starting to come round. It's just starting to cook on the edges. I'm starting to smell it coming through, all the flavours coming out, the goat's cheese, the pumpkin. So I'm just going to release the edges. Okay, so I'm now happy with starting to cook. Don't know if you guys can see that. Just starting to cook around the outside. I'm just going to throw that into the oven. It's going to take about 5 to 7 minutes to carry on with the dressing and the salad. So, preserved lemon. Just going to take some capers, ladleput capers, nice small capers there. Okay, that's good. Then I'm going to take some chili. I like it spicy. Obviously, you know, this is entirely up to you if you want to do that. Just remove the seeds. Again, if you like it really, really spicy, unfortunately, my wife doesn't. I'd leave the seeds in.
David, Steph wrote and said, what if you don't have a pan that can go in the oven?
You could do a thinner one on the stove, or you could do it in a ceramic dish, and then, you know, not turn it out, just eat it out of the ceramic dish would be fine. So yeah, either would work fine. So again, really finely diced red chili.
What do you think about using dried chili? Do you think that's as effective?
Yeah, you can, absolutely. I use chipotle chili flakes. So that's a smoked jalapeno. Really good smoky flavour, great depth of flavour. So if I use at home, I use those for chilies, etc. You could put those in. Obviously, you need them to hydrate again in some lemon juice. So you know, the flavour will come through within time, so not as quick as fresh chili. But yeah, absolutely could use them. Just use a squeeze of lemon juice in there for some acidity. Then I'm going to do a small spoonful of grain mustard.
And David Chance asks, can you finish the frittata under a grill?
Absolutely, yep. If you like it really crispy. Again, my oven's on top heat with fan, so again that should caramelise up quite nicely in there. Just do a splash of olive oil. I'm not going to add salt to this because I've got preserved lemons and I've got capers. And then, so I've got a lovely dressing there, and then we'll take a few leaves of sage. Sage will go great with the butternut squash and the kale. Again, chop that through. And I've got a lovely dressing for my salad. Got more oil. Dressing done. Have a taste. Oh, that's beautiful. So sit there on the side. So then for the salad, just checking the frittata. So for the salad, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do fennel, radish, and rocket salad. Super simple. Again, loads of flavour. So I'm just going to grab the mandolin again, do nicely thin circles of fresh fennel. Great acidic, nice flavour coming through from the fennel. That should be fine. Straight into the bowl.
David, would you advise people at home to get a mandolin?
I would, yeah, as long as they feel comfortable using one. Obviously, you need to be careful and practice. I think everyone knows, every chef out there has done themselves on one point with a mandolin. But just enables you to get super thin pieces of vegetable, you know, which are great for salads and everything like that. So this is colourful. You've got nice peppery rocket, nice peppery radishes, you know, really fresh and you see flavour coming through from the fennel. So, and it's just a nice, simple, refreshing salad because I've got quite a rich frittata going on. So I'm just going to slice these down.
What's the best technique to use a mandolin?
So again?
What's the best technique when using a mandolin?
Obviously, the safest technique is using the guard, which you get. But otherwise, you just hold the product nice and tight with your fingers, and then going in nice straight lines with the pressure evenly on top.
Good.
So then you're obviously protecting your fingers with the ingredient you're using. They're a great piece of kit, but as I say, please be careful. So as you say, right, we've got some lovely fennel there. We've got the radish mixed together. Just mix those together. And I've got some rocket. So again, just lightly mix this through. Again, salad could be anything, watercress, just plain iceberg, whatever you've got. Again, just try and get different flavours and textures going through it again, so you've got some real depth of flavour and layers going through, which is really quite key and simple. I'm just going to build that up in a bowl. Super simple salad. Kind of done. So I've got my dressing, I've got my salad. Have a little wipe down. And we'll look at the frittata. Look. Just needs a little bit. As you can see there, guys, it's just got a little bit of egg coming through. That's nearly there. So that's maybe another 2 minutes away before that's ready to go. So in the meantime, any other questions for me? I was just waiting for that to finish.
David, is it worth talking about what's coming up next week?
Yeah, so next week, got some great things going next week. Monday, we've got the future of hospitality and fine dining and casual dining. So I'm going to be interviewing Hugh Woodstall, Michelle Jr. and Jess Nathan on Monday at 3:30, just talking through how we think the restaurant scene and the food scene is going to be changing coming out of the post-COVID-19. Just asking them a great set of questions. It'd be great to get some questions from any of you guys who want to post beforehand, so that'd be great. Then on Tuesday, by public demand, I'm doing a demo for banana bread. There's been a few requests for me to demo that, so I'll be doing that unless there's anything else specific you'd like me to demo. Obviously Tuesday, every week I'll be doing a cookery demo, so if there's anything specific you'd prefer to see, send it through on email to Gavin and then we'll take the biggest vote. But currently it's banana bread. There's a lot of demand for banana bread. So that's coming up next week.
Sounds amazing. It's going to be a fascinating talk with the boys on Monday.
Yeah, it'd be really good. It'd be good to really, there's different styles. We've got Hugh's River Cottage casual restaurants, and obviously the farm down the south coast, and then we've got Michelle and Jason have got a broad scope of restaurants from getting casual dining right the way through to top fine dining. It's really interesting to see how different countries are currently coping. Also, what steps they, alongside ourselves, will be putting in place to really transform how we operate and deliver food and service to people.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take this out the oven now. As you can see, just on there, I don't know if you're on that view. If not, it's just got a little bit of give to it. So I'm going to let that cool down. Obviously, there's quite a lot of heat in there. There's just a little bit of egg in there, just but the heat, as it cools down, is going to set that. Okay, so it's pretty much cooked, but just not quite enough. So you can see it's lovely and caramelized. All the flavors are really nice. The squash, the pumpkin seeds, the pickled onions, the cavallonero, rich in the eggs. So that'd be really, really tasty with my salad. But just going to set that on the side and so let it cool down for 15-20 minutes before I turn it out of the pan, just so it finishes cooking through nice and easily. If you cook it all the way through in the pan, as in fully cooked, I find it will puff up and it'll collapse and then go quite dense. So obviously when I tip it up, there's no egg coming out. It's just a little bit of moisture on the top left over, which is just drying out. So it's just setting there nicely. So that is my dinner for tonight. goat's cheese, butternut squash, carbonara frittata with a fennel, radish, rocket salad with a chili, preserved lemon and caper dressing.
That looks great. We do have a couple of questions, if that's okay. Sean's asked what best beers can you drink with frittata, but I would extend that out to say, what drinks would you recommend can accompany a frittata? I'm thinking wine specifically. I
mean, again, that's down to personal flavour, right? I mean, I'm a pale ale kind of guy, so I've got some Hop House 13 in the fridge for tonight. Glass of wine, likewise, would go great. You know, Chablis or Sauvignon Blanc, something quite light and citrusy, I guess would be nice. It's quite rich. For me, I think a hoppy beer would go better than a normal lager. Again, it's about marrying flavour profiles together, so you've got a more of a matched flavour profile going through there. But yeah, that's again my personal preference. Again, you can pretty much drink anything with it. You know, a stout would go, even Stella, I guess. I don't think many people are drinking Corona right now, though.
You say that, however, I've seen so many people coming from the supermarket with
crates
of stuff.
So again, another way I can tell this is cooked. Gavin, I don't know if you can flip back. It's starting to release itself from the edges of the pan, which is really another good sign. So I say just going to relax and stay nice and moist. The last thing I want to do is cook it out fully and have a dry centre. The goat cheese just started to melt, so the heat's in there. Remember, you know, the egg will start cooking around 65 degrees internal temperature. If you want to be sure, you can put a probe in it or stick a knife, but you know, I can see it's just got a little bit of quiver there, so that's good for me.
Oh, that's great. Caroline asked, can you send me a slice in the post? It looks delicious.
Who asked that?
Caroline.
Absolutely. I've sent it in pigeon post for you.
Have you thought about opening a delivery from your place? You do get a lot of questions every week of delivery service.
Questions. You know, luckily for the wife and kids, they get a nice meal every week, or every day, to be fair at the moment. But yeah, it doesn't. This won't last long.
Daniel asks, can you flip it like a pancake?
You could do. Again, it depends on what you want. I mean, if you wanted to crisp up this side, again, I would, just for safety versions, put it under grill and caramelise that really nice. If you flip it, you've got the chance of breaking it. Obviously, this is most probably an inch thick, inch and a half thick. So it's a risky thing to do. And, you know, the purpose of getting a crispy skin, you can get via a grill. So again, I don't know. You could do it, I wouldn't.
That's great. And Steph has been in touch regarding the drinking potential options. She said maybe a Soave or a Pic Poulet de Pinet, depending on the flavour profiles. Would you agree with that?
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I never disagree with Steph, but yeah, it's really good.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I think that's all we have time for today. So thank you very much. Unless there's anything else you'd like to say, David?
No, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed it. And as I say, I will give Gavin the recipe of what I've done today, so you can send out if anyone asks for it. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you all next week.
Well, thank you very much, David, for a fabulous cooking demo. We hope you'll join us tomorrow for sleeping advice with our senior nutritionist, Luxie. For more information about our programme of discussions, please go to RA Group's website at www.ragroup.co.uk/news to download the broadcast links. Meanwhile, if you have any questions or suggestions about how you can get involved, please email myself at gavin.goody@ragroup.co.uk. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.